What do you think? Is this fair and reasonable?
Well, you don't need a medical test, you just need an eyeball test. It's there right in front of us. You know, there's an individual who's, what, 270, maybe 300 pounds, competing against much smaller individuals. There's no doubt that testosterone makes you stronger, more aggressive. You go through a male puberty, you have bigger joints, you have bigger bones. All these factors. I am a massive sports fan. Obviously, I want good things for transgender people, but I just think it's the line that you cannot cross. You have to be respectful. First and foremost, I transitioned to be a woman. I respect women. That's what I am now, and I just think it is grossly unfair. You are stealing people's dreams.
Wow.
OK, well, that's very strong words, and that's how a lot of people feel about this. Joanna, this...
Will I get cancelled if I say I agree?
No.
I
mean,
100% agree.
You can't get cancelled. There's a transgender person there saying it themselves.
Yeah. I think it's absolutely correct, everything that she just said.
Yeah, the thing is that, like I said in one of the episodes we did previously, most trans people do not have these radical views that I'm pretty sure the person on the other side is about to argue that with her. If you genuinely think that somebody that's transitioned into a woman should be allowed to compete in a female league, then you're mad. You obviously don't understand what makes us up, what the differences are between a man and a woman. Because if you think it's just hormones, then you're sadly mistaken. And if you think that, I would encourage you to go into a sport with men and see what happens. You're going to get fucked up and you're going to lose almost every single time. As evidenced with like the Leah Thomas situation, who was ranked in I think 500th amongst the men's swimming, transitioned, entered the female one, and blitzed everyone. So you go from 500 to number 1 and you don't think it's more than hormones. You're tripping. You're tripping. You're just lying to yourself. You're 100% tripping. You're tripping over every single wire.
If Usain Bolt decided tomorrow to transition to be a woman and compete in the Olympics in the women's 100-metre final, would that be fair?
Not tomorrow. But after a year of hormone therapy, he'd be running 10, 12% slower, and he would only be approximately as fast as the fastest women's sprinters.
He could run 50% slower, couldn't he, and still win?
50%? No, there's only a second difference between the fastest men and the fastest women. It's 10%. He would lose that. My data shows it, and he would only be as fast as the fastest.
With the greatest respect, you know, I've been on hormones now for, 3 years? And after a year, I still had some residue strength and there was still that difference.
And also,
there.
we have these sprinters in Connecticut, for example. There are two young sprinters who were competing as male sprinters, now competing as female sprinters, smashing all records in Connecticut for women's sprinting, clearly have had no demonstrable difference in their speeds and are destroying women's rights to the extent that Connecticut's now being sued, the authorities there, by other women who feel the competition now is grotesquely unfair and that they themselves have had their own dreams and their own battle for fairness, equality and success destroyed.
Connecticut doesn't require hormone therapy, and the trans girls were winning before they started on hormone therapy. Their lawyer says they're now on hormone therapy. They're no longer winning.
Is it purely about hormones?
Do you know what I don't understand? Is that if I say I'm trans today, who are they to say that I'm not? And if I say that I'm trans, doesn't that mean that I can enter the competition in which I identify with? Why do I need to go on hormones? Doesn't going on hormone replacement therapy kind of prove what is going on here? That you're having to make alterations because you're coming from the opposite gender and entering the gender that you do not belong to, and then they are blitzing women. Like, there's no doubting that. We know full well what's happened in combat sports, in weightlifting. I mean, Zubi, who is a UK rapper, entered the female weightlifting competition and won. A rapper. He's not a bodybuilder. He's nothing like that. He trained for a little bit and he won. And he didn't even win by a little bit. He won by a lot. It's one thing to, treat people like human beings, obviously, and not devalue people. It's another thing to just completely deny what is going on around us. Imagine you had a daughter and you had put her through school and she was in boxing, yeah? She was doing really well, she was finishing top of the class, she was winning belts, she's on her way to compete somewhere, I don't know, in some league or whatever. And then I have a son who decides to transition, goes on hormone replacement therapy for a year, and then faces your daughter. How pissed as a parent would you be that the commission has allowed, basically, for your daughter to go in there and be bludgeoned? That's exactly what's going to happen. So much so that I've seen loads and loads of TikToks now of this happening in other countries, in like European countries or whatever, where guys are getting into the ring with girls, people that have just transitioned, and they're battering them. They are battering them. We saw this with Fallon Fox, where Fallon Fox caved the woman's head in. The image is so grotesque that I don't even think I can put it on YouTube. You can go to Google and look for it. Fallon Fox brutalized this woman, caved her head in. And I'm not even saying that as a figure of speech. Her head literally went in. There's like a dent in her forehead. And you want to put women up against men. Like, it's madness.
But would you allow, you know, somebody like Anthony Joshua to box in women's boxing in a year's time if he had the treatment?
There's a weight category issue. I'm not sure about the weight categories. He'd be a lot bigger than any woman. But if he was in a woman's size weight category, yes.
What woman have you seen the same size as Anthony Joshua? You're going to have to go right into the mountains of Russia to find some woman that is that size. And even then you're going to struggle.
Hey.
Do you have to get all funny every time they mention Anthony Joshua?
No. How are you choosing a woman from Russia? That's rude.
No, I'm saying, but Russians are tough people. You know, they live out in tough conditions. If you're going to find someone tough, it's either going to be in Africa or Russia.
Anyway, she had to bring weight into it because she knew she couldn't answer that.
Yeah, and the thing is, if Anthony Joshua says that he's trans, you're going to have to accommodate him. And you know what? He's going to kill everyone. I'll say this now. If Anthony Joshua...
it's not like he's undefeated.
Yeah, against men.
Yeah, but I'm just putting it out there.
No. And against the men that beat Anthony Joshua are world class. There's not a single woman in any boxing competition that could go one round with Usyk or Andy Ruiz. Both of those boxers would kill every single woman in every single weight class of every single boxing association. They would beat multiple women in one night. That's the level that Anthony Joshua was fighting at, right? Anthony Joshua is an elite level athlete. For as much shit as people want to give him, if Anthony Joshua entered a female competition, there's no female on this planet that would beat him. Not one. You might get one or two that land a lucky punch and it's going to bounce off him. Have you seen the size of that guy? Would you let Brock Lesnar transition and enter a female MMA division? Do you understand what will happen? Have you ever seen a grizzly bear rip a human being apart? That's exactly what it's going to look like. He could literally tear their limbs off. And I'm not even saying that as a joke. If Brock Lesnar grabbed you and he wanted to rip your arm off,
he will snap me in half.
He wouldn't snap you in half. Have you seen Mortal Kombat when they don't just snap, they pull apart, right? And your intestines are flying everywhere. That would be you. He could literally rip your head off your shoulders if he wanted. Like this is insane. This is absolutely insane. But the thing is that if we keep on going down this road, if someone as big as Anthony Joshua wants to identify as a woman, you are going to have to accommodate him. And if there's no division that has a man that weighs like 220 pounds to 250 pounds, however much he weighs, what are you going to do? You're going to have to put him in the heaviest female class. But the heaviest female class is still at a lightweight division, maybe even a featherweight compared to Anthony Joshua. And he's just going to go bonk on their head and they're going to die. That's going to be it. Anthony Joshua is going to be the undisputed heavyweight women's champion in every single association until he decides to not do it anymore.
But you would let Floyd Mayweather,
crazy.
who is pound for pound the most successful boxer in male history, you would let him in a year's time compete at the same weight against women?
Yeah, if there's a weight category...
This is nonsense. I'm sorry.
It's absolute
How
garbage.
could you possibly countenance putting Floyd Mayweather, the most dangerous boxer pound for pound, arguably in the history of boxing, into a ring with women born to female bodies?
And something close to that
This is where the argument becomes utterly ridiculous. And it's not transphobic to say so, it's common sense.
There's a fighter called Fallon Fox in the mixed martial arts world who is a big individual, got into a fight, round one, broke somebody's skull.
So...
That did I not say? I ain't making up. He literally smashed her skull. Do you really want to watch someone's mum, someone's daughter, someone's cousin, someone's sister getting their skull crushed in? Floyd Mayweather is, I think he's about our height and he's going to be about my weight as well. There's no chance in hell that I would ever beat Floyd Mayweather in a fight. If you put Floyd Mayweather in the ring with a woman of any, even if she's heavier than him, Floyd Mayweather will kill her. He'll kill her with ease. And he's not a heavy guy. Again, you can look at pictures of Floyd on the internet. Now he's not the smallest guy. Let's not forget, he's standing next to other big boxers, so he looks a bit smaller on TV than what he probably is. If you saw him in the gym, he obviously looks like he works out, but he's not Anthony Joshua's size, obviously. Anthony Joshua's a giant. Brock Lesnar's a giant. Tyson Fury's a giant. So those are more absurd examples. We know that there's no woman that can fight them. But you look at Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather is at the same height as some women and maybe the same weight as some heavy women. He would still kill all of them. You could put 10 women on the same night and Floyd Mayweather probably won't even break a sweat. And he'll end up breaking all of their faces. And then he'll wake up in the morning and do the exact same thing until there are no women left in any boxing division. That's the level that we're talking about here. But even if you don't use Floyd Mayweather, even if you use like upcoming boxers, even if you use some of these YouTuber boxers, I'm willing to bet KSI would beat up a lot of female boxers and he's only really just started boxing. Jake Paul would brutalize most female boxers. Even the guys that are in MMA that are coming over to boxing like Tyron Woodley and Anderson Silva, they're going to destroy every single female boxer with relative ease. Not necessarily because they're more skilled. Skill's not going to come into it. The woman's going to throw a punch and she's quickly going to realize that she's hit metal, basically. And then she's going to get punched. She's going to go flying out of the ring. I don't know why these people are setting women up for disaster, because that's what's going to happen here. Someone's going to get killed in one of these competitions, especially these combat sports. It's one thing in like weightlifting, like someone goes up and obviously they're going to beat all the women, but no one gets physically harmed. But you're putting women in a cage and a boxing ring with men. Someone's daughter, someone's wife, someone's mother is going to be killed. That's just what's going to happen.
That was in 2014. Can you have something more recent? Trans women are not taking over women's sports.
Still relevant.
Trans women are not causing massive injuries. Trans women in rugby, for instance, haven't created one injury in the last 5 years.
There's a trans woman in cricket in Kent who averaged something like 17 playing men's cricket and now averages 135
on the verge of
playing
selection
women's
for
cricket
international
and was
cricket.
deemed Women Cricketer of the Year in Kent. That is ridiculous. And nothing against that woman. I totally respect the fact she's transitioned and wants to be a woman. Fine. But you were competing against male cricketers at a certain level, and now your level, despite the treatment, has actually 10 times improved. How can that be fair?
She hasn't said whether she's on treatment or not. I would presume that she's not because she hasn't said so. Again, if we watched her go under treatment, we would see a massive change in her
You
performance.
know, in your heart, and I respect the battle that you're waging to support transgender rights, and, you know, I get this is a real hot potato, very complicated. But honestly, when our viewers hear you say that Floyd Mayweather should be allowed to box against women of the same weight in a year's time if he just has a bit of testosterone treatment. And what I don't like about it is it's not just ridiculous and highly dangerous for women to even suggest that, but it makes a mockery to me of people like India who have actually gone through transitioning.
And it
makes transgenderism become a subject of open mockery.
Joanna,
And it
you've been
also
through
creates a
transition as well.
backlash,
Yes,
though,
But
because
do you not
people
see that?
get
You must hear that from
peeved
other
off.
transgender people like it.
What Piers is saying is true, though. Like, on one hand, you understand like the mental anguish someone might go through, feeling like they're not in the right body. I have sympathy for people that are going through that. But then on the other hand, when you start advocating for nonsense like this, I'm just like, well, I can't support you on this. I just can't, because what you're asking me to do is to pretend like something isn't happening and just turn a blind eye. And the thing is that a lot of people don't like the slippery slope argument, but that is always the case. If you accommodate one person and you throw the rules out, you have to accommodate everyone else. And it just keeps going and it keeps going and it keeps going. Now, if they accommodate Floyd Mayweather and Floyd's like, I want to enter the female division, I feel like I'm a woman, and he goes through, let's say he goes on hormone replacement therapy, and then a year later he enters and he batters everyone, well then, why can't Klitschko do it? Why can't Tyson Fury do it? Why can't anyone do it? Like, where do you stop? Where do you draw the line? Because then you would have validated somebody else's transgenderism and invalidated somebody else. Why? Because Tyson Fury is almost 300 pounds. So because of his weight and his very clear size advantage over women, you're invalidating him now. So that is why the slippery slope argument is completely valid. Because, like I said, you validate one person, you have to validate everybody else. And it's one thing for me to call you she or her or call you by a girl's name. It's another thing if I've got like a female cousin or my girl's a boxer and you put her in the ring against somebody that was called Tom yesterday and now he's Samantha, and I'm just supposed to stand there and watch this person that I care about get their face boxed in. Nah, bruv. No chance. No chance. The lines have to be drawn somewhere.
People like India.
Things like this happening, I think women justifiably do feel things like toilets. I went to the Old Vic recently, and it's absolutely ludicrous. The only gender as such that has a dedicated bathroom now is gender neutral. Men and women have had to give up their rights. But the real issue here is that this is going to be a gradual creep. The original rules for transgender athletes came in just prior to the 2004 Olympics. Then it used to be you had to have a full medical transition, be on estrogen for 2 full years. That then changed prior to the 2016 Olympics, so you just had to lower your testosterone. We're now into a world where self-ID is coming up, and in future Olympics, if this is allowed now, you're going to have individuals
We have to leave it there.
changing in any way whatsoever.
Final
I
words
agree.
coming
We shouldn't allow trans women to go just under self-ID. Hormones make a big difference. I know that better than anyone.
But that was my point. They keep on shifting the goalposts.
Yeah.
Eventually, therapy and sexually transitioning and going through all those changes is going to be a thing of the past. It's if I say I am this thing, I am that thing, and you must affirm it. And if you don't affirm it, you're a bigot. So, at some point, we are going to see a first, second, and third place, gold, silver, and bronze at the Olympics, all awarded to transgender athletes. It's going to happen. It might not happen next year, and it might not happen the year after. But if you keep going down this road, of course, the men that are transitioning to women are going to win. Of course, they're going to dominate everything. If you just look at sports as a whole, if you get a breakdown of all of the most popular sports, even motorsport, all of the top performing athletes, if you had them on a table, if you had them on a graph, they're all men. And it's not even close. 15-year-old schoolboys beat the national women's football team, I think the American team. 15-year-old schoolboys, and they even beat them by a little bit. They battered them. So if you get a graph and you put all the best athletes on there, all of them, not in categories, I'm willing to bet, like, take boxing, you're going to get to about 999 and you might find a woman on there. Look at Formula One. Are there any female racers? People think, oh, but they're driving a car. It's not just driving a car. The G-forces rip your neck. You have to go through grueling training to be a Formula One driver. It's not just about sitting in the car. World Rally Championship. How many women do you see doing that? Now, I've seen women doing rallying. I've seen women do it, but how many are actually doing it? Look at Serena Williams. She said that she would not go up against the men because they would batter her. She said it herself, and she's the greatest player in that sport. So I don't understand this mentality. Like, you think a female golfer is going to stand up to Tiger Woods? Do you really think that? Why? Because it's golf. Do you think all that goes into it is just swinging the bat? Like, you don't think there's any level of condition that Tiger Woods goes through or anything? All of these sports that might seem minuscule, all the way up to the most extreme ones like combat sports, men dominate them, and there's a reason for that. It's not a put down on women, because there's plenty of female athletes out there that regular men can't beat. But if you're looking at the athletes themselves, the worst male athletes will beat the best male athletes. This is not even about supporting transgender rights. This is about using common sense.
Yeah.
You're going to get someone hurt.